And welcome back to SportsVibe. Continuing the triple header here, we've got our last episode. We're going to be talking about the AFC South now. We just covered the NFC North, so five divisions in, three to go. And after this episode, we'll have two divisions left. So we're well on our way in the NFL preview series. AFC North and NFC South coming up next time. But for now, the AFC South, an intriguing division, but I think kind of one that's more clear cut. I think everyone already knows who's going to be rebuilding, who's going to be competing. And let's just start with the Jaguars. I think they're probably going to be the team to win the division. They're on the rise. We saw what they did against the Chargers in the playoffs which was pretty crazy coming back from that
One of the greatest chokes in playoff history.
Yeah, I feel like it's
Not that the
more on the
Chargers aren't used
Chargers
to it.
than on the Jaguars, but I mean it's still pretty impressive to come back from that. And
No, no,
they played the
it's
Chiefs
because
pretty close too in the
it's because
playoffs
it's
as
such a
well.
Chargers thing to do. Like the Chargers are the Cowboys are the of the AFC. It's as
Yeah.
simple as that.
I think we talked
But
about this when we went over the AFC West, but yeah, exactly.
yeah, but but regardless, in spite of the choking, the Jaguars still had to mount a comeback, and
Hmm.
they still did that while being down 24 point no, while being down 27
27.
points in the
Yeah.
first quarter. And
Mhm.
Wow.
I don't know. Like
Totally
the
bonkers.
Jaguars have shown throughout all of last season, like the Jaguars certainly did have their ups and downs, but they were definitely one of the most surprising teams in the AFC. And let's not forget, they nearly beat the Chiefs in the divisional round. I mean,
Yeah, yeah.
I would
They're
have loved for
pretty
that to
close.
happen. I would have loved for that to happen. Endless mockery of the AFC West. The Raiders being a joke, the Broncos plummeting into a black hole, the Chargers choking away yet again another year of Justin Herbert,
Mhm.
and the Chiefs just choking again. That would have been a year supply worth of comedy right there. But
Yeah.
unfortunately, that didn't happen. But give the Jaguars credit;
Yeah.
they held their territory very well, and let's not forget this year they'll get Calvin Ridley,
Who's
who's
been,
returning
who's been
from
insane in training
who's
camp.
returning from his stupid suspension. So um,
Yeah, I think,
it
uh,
is stupid hard off,
no, let's,
but
yeah,
I
I
mean, it
think
is.
nobody questions.
It's way too. That's why. Yeah. I mean, it was a year for
I don't
gambling. I
think
mean,
there's a soul
yeah.
in
I
the
feel like
world
the
that question,
priorities
yeah.
are out of whack a little bit. I mean, they're giving
yeah.
a
But
much more serious
maybe we can
priority
talk
to
about that a little
those
after
games.
preview.
Sure. Yeah.
Mhm.
Yeah.
Yeah, I don't think there's a soul in the football world that questions Jacksonville's offense. Their
Yeah. No,
defense and
they're gonna be very
special
good.
teams, though,
I mean,
I think,
their defense, it's not the 2017 defense, but they can still make some noise.
yeah, I think, they have good pieces. I think they definitely have a shot to be good, but I just think they need some more consistency. That's all. I mean, like, they won a lot of their games last year, giving up a lot of points. I mean, we saw the Baltimore game, the Dallas game,
Mm.
the Chargers game, the playoffs. Um, and they just need to be, more consistent, starting out games, especially because,
They're a young team. They'll probably have learned from their last year. They've probably known which tactics,
hmm yeah,
which
yeah,
schemes don't run. So
hmm
like every team
yeah.
needs time to learn from certain things. So this
hmm
year should be a year the Jaguars should build upon that.
Yeah, and I believe in Mike Caldwell. I think he was the one that helped beat the Chiefs a few years back in the Super Bowl. Held them to 9 points. He was part of the Eagles defense in the early 2010s. So yeah, I think he definitely has. He's a good coordinator. They have good pieces. I think Tyson Campbell. They have Trayvon Walker, who needs to
Yeah. Trevor
live up to
Walker.
more of his potential. I think they re-signed Dwayne Smoot. They have, the OG, the real Josh Allen playing, and yeah, they have and Andre Cisco. That's a that those are some pretty good names. Put it together.
That's a fairly young nucleus, but it's a nucleus that
hmm
has potential.
That has the potential to
Right.
play really well, and they have to prove it this year if they want to be seen as one of the top few teams there. Their special teams, I meant like um I don't know why they got rid of Riley Patterson. I think that was a stupid decision
Uh,
by Doug Peterson. You know, I mean, like he was good for you guys last year. I mean, like he was really accurate. He made a lot of clutch kicks, especially against I think Dallas and then against LA in the divisional and in the wild card. So I didn't like that move. Bringing in Brandon McManus, who is inaccurate from 50 plus. I think would be the right term to say. But honestly, yeah, if they can just fix their defense and special teams, there's no reason to think they couldn't go to the championship game this year, AFC championship game.
and especially if they have to play the Chargers again, then that's a guarantee.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. So, yeah, Jacksonville, I think it should be the favorite to win the division. I don't think we don't need
Yeah, I don't think anyone's
explanation.
questioning that.
Their defense just, I think their defense, there's going to be a moment or two when it just clicks this year, and they're going to be shut. They're going to be really playing well from after that. After that.
Yeah, I think
So
so too. Yeah.
speaking of shutdown, let's talk about Tennessee, who's who's going
No,
through a
no,
lot of.
they're like the Packers. They're pretending their window's still open. It's
Yeah,
not.
definitely
I
not.
think their window was from 2019 to 2021, and that was about it. But like they had a great receiver on a rookie contract. They had the 2,000 yard Derrick Henry. They had Ryan
They had
Tannehill was
Ryan
Yeah,
Tannehill when he did not suck.
who's yeah, he was good.
right.
So yeah, I think they're I just have so many questions for them this year. I'm like, sure they ended
Quarterback.
DeAndre
Yeah.
Hopkins, but you still have a quarterback that's a little bit older and who's not within that top tier of AFC
And
quarterbacks.
has a
And
trash
then
contract.
it has a very, very bad contract, that it's definitely I think undeserved for them to be paying him 30 million a year or 35 million, whatever
If
it is.
anything, Derrick Henry should be getting paid. If anything, Derrick Henry and Ryan Tannehill should swap contracts. If anything.
Yeah.
Of
hmm
course, that never
That
So
would
happened
never
because
happen with them
running
running
backs
their
don't get paid
marketing
for
machine.
anything these days.
mhm.
Yeah.
Yeah. So yeah, I think I think if they, yeah, and
Also, the
I mean,
defense is like a little
drafting will,
questionable
yeah,
as well. But yeah,
yeah, their defense is great. I mean, like nobody questions how good their defense is. Sure, they had a lot of bad moments last year. I mean, like giving up like 35, 38 to Philly, but that same defense held Kansas City to, I think 20 points or whatever it was when, their quarterback couldn't throw the ball past the yard of scrim, past the line of scrimmage. I mean, like, sure, the first Jacksonville game was bad for them, but this is a good team that
And
dealt with a lot of
let's not
injuries
forget the
last year.
last Jacksonville game. Let's not forget
Oh
that.
yeah,
uh,
yeah. They're that yeah, but the Titans defense, they just couldn't get it. I mean, like the Titans defense was good that game. I mean, like they were great. It's just Jacksonville's defense that made the plays that they should be starting to make every game this year. And yeah, I think I just have so many questions around their offense. And that like, okay, Ryan Tannehill, okay, but now you went out and you drafted Will Levis, who fell, possibly 30, 31 spots because
I don't understand the Titans QB roster. I mean, sure,
yeah,
Tannehill is on his way out, but isn't
mm-hmm.
that why you drafted Malik
Dra-
Willis a couple of seasons
yeah,
ago?
I just don't
And
think
now
they
you've
believe in
drafted Will
him, and
Levis. I don't
there's a
understand.
reason, there's a reason he fell so far, and the Titans trading up to get him. I just question that move. There's so many good quarterbacks that are gonna come next year, right? You have and just going for it now. I just didn't think it was wise. I mean,
So
like,
many good
sure,
quarterbacks next year in theory going in next
in theory, yeah, yeah, but like those are I think a little bit more proven than Will Levis. I mean, like sure he has all the measurables of Josh Allen, but he just he could very well develop into him, but you know you're just it's just questionable. You're trying to you had more needs than quarterback. At
especially when
41,
you
and then
drafted Malik Willis.
yeah, that's what I
hmm
was gonna
yeah,
say. They already have Malik
I
Willis,
think
I
yeah.
mean, what are
hmm
they? I mean, if you cut Tannehill, his contract is going to weigh a lot on the dead cap, and
Yeah,
Malik
it's
Willis
yeah.
doesn't exactly have trade value. So what the hell was the
Yeah.
point of picking Will Levis?
Yeah, that was a stupid thing. I mean, like, sure, okay, sit behind him for a year, but then what? It's not like Tannehill's good either. He's not the guy he was a few years ago.
I don't even think Tannehill's a top 15 quarterback in the league.
Yeah, I
Top
don't think
20 if he's
anybody. Yeah.
lucky.
hmm So I meant like, and, sure, they added a future Hall of Famer in DeAndre Hopkins, but then again,
Right.
they had to make a lot of cuts and decisions to this team over the last year. I mean, like I know they cut their center Ben Jones, they cut the injured obviously Taylor Lewan. They
He
had to
was the
cut
heart and soul of the Titans offense. So you could
yeah.
argue that.
They had to cut Bud Dupree, and they almost cut Kevin Byard too. Who had to. I think they had to agree to a last minute, restructure or something. So this team definitely isn't set up to compete this year. I think everybody can agree that. If I think
I
just maybe another
they're
year or two.
just I think Tennessee is just pretending that they're competitive. They're like
Hmm.
the Packers last year. They're pretending they're competitive.
They have a if their defense can like be like really really good. I mean, that's not. I mean, like I think they could be good. Yeah, but I just doubt that. I mean, I just doubt that their deep. Their offense is going to be able to carry them. And sure, they might make some noise, but just they just were not good against great defenses last year. I mean, we saw the Buffalo game week 2. They had 7 points. That's not good.
That's seven
We
more
saw,
points than we had
yeah.
together.
Fair. We saw how they didn't do good against Philadelphia either. I mean, only 10 points. AJ Brown himself
But
scored more
to
than
be
the
fair,
entire
those
offense.
Philadelphia's defense and
Hmm.
Philadelphia's
But like, yeah,
ferocious.
it was for
Mm.
yeah.
And
And then
AJ Brown really wanted to,
Yeah.
really wanted to
yeah.
piss on the Titans there, and I don't blame him
Yeah.
on it.
So I think they just have to
I
be a
still
little
can't
bit
believe they
better. I
traded
mean,
AJ
like
Brown to the Eagles.
they
Like, anyway.
I mean, like they got a good deal for him. It was good, but I just
Well,
they
it's safe
they
to say
they
the
just
Eagles have won that trade, and that was
of
just in
course,
year
yes.
one.
Oh yeah. So I think Titans are definitely set up to be second in this division. They're not going to win it, I think, especially with Jacksonville. But maybe
Right.
next year or the year after, they could definitely get back to
No,
being
no,
the
no, no,
Titans we've seen these past few years.
no. They're definitely not going to be.
They're not going to win it. They're going to get second probably. I just don't
I
think
mean,
the any.
maybe the Colts could challenge them for second, maybe, but
Yeah, we can
I highly
transition to
doubt.
talking about them. Yeah, this is the Colts are a team that only had 4 wins last year. I mean, admittedly, a lot of that was injuries and stuff, and Matt Ryan, playing nowhere where he did as good as Atlanta. So
Right.
yeah, and they just had to shuffle everybody. Their defense was also banged up sometimes, but I believe in this Colts team. They had a very underrated offseason, I think. They hired who I had was the best coach on my radar, and Shane Steichen, who's worked with Justin Herbert, who worked with Jalen Hurts, and his offense could be very well a top 10 or top 5 offense as we saw last year.
Top
So
five?
I definitely. Well, in a few years, I think when Anthony Richardson starts to develop all of his into his potential, Steichen is capable of leading a top 5 offense. I think he's shown that
I'll
he's
give you top
capable.
five offense in the AFC South. I'll give you
Hmm.
that one.
I think in a few yeah.
It's a good one.
I think he's definitely capable of showing that he can run a very good offense. I mean, like sure he's not going to have the talent where he did as
Is
Philly.
he
Right.
capable of that, or was he just a benefactor of a monster
Well,
of talent? Like, come on, Jalen Hurts,
Well,
AJ Brown.
we
Defensive
saw
front.
how
Yeah.
Jalen Hurts played from year 1 to year 2. Well, we saw how Jalen Hurts improved from year 1 to year 2. But like that just doesn't happen. Shane Steichen, he definitely helped a lot with that. We also saw Justin Herbert, how he did with him. So he's good. I mean, like he's he's a very good quarterback coach. They drafted a quarterback at 4 who has traits better than like 95% of all the league quarterbacks right now. So he's definitely, I think Shane Steichen is a very, very good coach. I mean, like, sure, he had a lot of talent in Philly, but he was the one that kind of like made that machine run. I mean, like, yeah, he didn't have many bad calls all year. Like, I mean, like,
Well,
sure, his second half play calling was,
that's because the other coordinator who turned coach now
yeah.
did fail to do his job again.
Yeah,
Otherwise,
you saw
Philadelphia would have a second
yeah.
Super Bowl in five
I mean, like,
years.
yeah, he's Shane Steichen, he's very good, like very good. And, I think, he can develop Richardson. It's not going to take, it won't happen
It
in
should
two
take like a
months.
season or two
It should,
or so.
it's
Yeah.
not going to happen in 2 months. It's probably going to take 2 years. So, but I still think the Colts, their defense is, very good. I mean, like, sure, they were really bad in the latter half of last year, but that was, I think, objectively, they were just trying to get a good pick in the draft. And, all of their guys were up injured. Shaquille Leonard was, banged up, all of last year. And, he was the one that made that machine, work. But Gus Bradley is a very good defensive coordinator.
Well,
And,
Gus Bradley was also like,
remember,
and,
he was the one who got the Legion of Boom, all that notoriety in the first
and let's
place.
not forget
Sure,
he commanded a different team in the AFC South, the Jaguars.
I mean, sure, that was bad, but he got that. Why did he get that opportunity? Because of his starting of the Legion of Boom defense. And then he's good. I mean, like he has all the pieces he needs. Sure, you have Kenny Moore, you have DeForest Buckner, an All-Pro level player. You have Shaquille Leonard, who's also an All-Pro level player. Playmakers everywhere on the field for that defense. This is the only team that it held Kansas City to 17 points last year. Sure, admittedly, a lot of that was on their special
that was a
team.
miracle because of Kansas City's own mistakes. That was not
Yeah,
because of the
special
Colts
teams,
defense.
I mean, like they played well last year. I'd say they played they made plays where it counted to win last year. Sure, the Minneapolis game was a Minnesota game was a disaster, but when they were healthy, they're top 15 defense, top even 10 if I could if they
Top 15,
you
like top 15 is nothing to brag about when there's 32 teams. That's just an average
yeah.
defense.
Yeah, but I think top 10, they could definitely be top 10. I mean, like, this is, they had their ups and downs last year, but if everybody's healthy and the way they, attacked the situation in the draft, they took two cornerbacks, they took a defensive tackle, I think they took a few linebackers as well. They're set up, well, Indianapolis. I think Chris Ballard did a good job this offseason, of addressing all the team's concerns. Sure, they're not going to be, competing this season for the AFC South title. 2 years, I definitely could see them making it. So it all depends on how the guy who you invested a lot of draft capital into. They could have very well said hey, we're trading back from the fourth overall pick. Does anybody want to come and get Anthony Richardson? But they're putting a lot of faith in him to be the next Jalen Hurts, and
Well, I
he has
guess
a few. Yeah.
I guess talking of teams that are not competing have invested like a crap ton
A lot.
of draft capital into their futures.
Houston. Yeah.
Let's talk about the Houston
Houston.
Texans.
I think, they also had a very underrated offseason. I mean, like, sure, they had the huge splash move on draft day.
Two
I
splash
just,
moves within back-to-back picks.
yeah, I mean, like, well, back-to-back picks, I mean, like, we knew they were going to take, I mean, like, we probably knew they were going to take a quarterback at 2. We just didn't know they'd come up to 3 to do it, to take, Will Anderson. I think they were going to take a quarterback at 2. Everybody kind of knew that. It's just that, what are they going to do with number 12? And, they gave up a king's ransom to, come up all the way from 12 to 3 to take it. I mean, like,
And they don't have their first next year. That's the property of the Cardinals.
Yeah, I watched the Arizona Cardinals training camp flight plan video, and I think they took I think Arizona offered 12, 33 in the next year too, but they changed that a little bit, and they gave up the first instead. So I just didn't like that idea. I mean, like, sure, Will Anderson, he's rightly earned comparisons to DeMarcus Ware, Von Miller, the late great DT, Derek Thomas. I just think it was a little bit too much to go and get him from that spot. It's just gonna see. I mean, like, is he gonna be like Nick Bosa was for D'Amico Ryans? I don't think. Remember, for edge rushers especially, it just takes a little bit of a curve to get used to the league. I mean, like, Nick Bosa was the only one in recent memory who I can think of, played at the edge rusher level,
Let's
that
not
high
forget
in
the
Micah
Texans
Parsons.
have had success with the edge rushers before, Jadeveon Clowney and JJ Watt. So
Well, let's not. Well, Jadeveon Clowney was
yeah,
he didn't live up to where
yeah,
he
yeah,
anywhere near his
that's like,
potential.
I mean, that's
This is
why
a
you can
guy
bounce
that,
around teams a
yeah.
bit. But it's like, I'm
Yeah,
saying,
they traded him on his
but like,
rookie. Yeah.
I mean, we could argue Clowney is a product was good because JJ Watt was too busy terrifying the other side of the line. So
Yeah,
we could
I think
argue on that sense.
Fair.
so I
Yeah.
think yeah that the they brought over D'Amico Ryans, who led a great defense in San Francisco. They didn't have many down. I mean, like the beginning of the year in the Kansas City game, I think those were the only two spots, and the Raiders game, those were the only two spots where they played, kind of subpar all year. But other than that, this defense was locked down. I mean, like they held Brady to 7 points in a game, and that was only because he was lucky to not get picked on that play. you know but they're very good. They were very good, and sure, he's not having anywhere near the level of talent that he had last year in San Francisco, but they do have a few good pieces, I'd say. I mean, like they drafted Jalen Petre last year. They have a top three pick in Derek Stingley Jr. They drafted another top three pick, Will Anderson. You better justify everything that you gave up for Will Anderson and why you drafted Stingley over, Sauce Gardner. So I think he's the one that can prove that, hey, this is why we did it. I think he definitely has the ability to, go out and do what he needs to do for this Houston defense.
Yeah. I mean, I really like.
Yeah, yeah.
Mm,
I think yeah he was a great coaching hire. I had him also as my best defensive coach on the year of the year on my ranking. So he definitely are they going to compete this year? I mean, I
No,
don't think they will. They
definitely
will
not.
they will not. I don't
I
think they
mean, but
will.
hey,
Nobody thinks they will.
hey, as fans, we live to be surprised.
Yeah.
It's
So
true.
I think, but they had a good offensive, off season as well. They took, the second best ranked, or, maybe a lot of people saw first ranked in CJ Stroud as well, who's, the
Right.
most accurate quarterback in last year's draft. Uh,
I guess the one question we could ask is, why didn't they pick Anthony Richardson? That, if anything,
Well, I
that's
mean,
like
like
one
I
question.
think they wanted to go with somebody more proven over somebody that needs a lot of work to be done. I think CJ
Yeah.
Stroud, he was easily more proven last year. I mean, if that definitely going to change that might change in a few years. We don't know, but I think they're going for somebody who was proven at that point, and I like the CJ Stroud pick. They also drafted Tank Dell and Xavier Hutchinson. They also drafted I think a good. They also drafted a great center in Juice Scruggs from Penn State. Then they added, Robert Woods. They have John Mechie coming back from injury.
Mm.
That's a young, inexperienced receiver core, just like the Packers.
Except
But they
for
have the
Robert Woods or something, he can be the
Robert.
leader of the
Yeah,
core.
yeah,
The veteran
yeah.
guy.
Robert Woods. Yeah, he's he was good a few years ago. Obviously, he didn't have his best season last year in Tennessee, but I think that offense is, definitely may not be good this year, but it's going to be good in a few years, I think.
Yeah. Plus, they're adding Dalton Schultz from the Cowboys at tight end, so
Oh
that's
yes,
pretty solid
probably
move there. So
probably the most underrated move of the offseason. I mean, like Dallas wasn't going to re-sign him after what happened against San Francisco, but he's a good tight end. Especially in the red zone. I just think he's very underrated. He can
mm,
do a lot of things, and Bobby Slowick, I think their offensive coordinator, he's coming from San Francisco. He's a he was responsible for he's like the pass game coordinator after Mike McDaniel left. He has all the pieces now. Sure, he's dealing with less talent in San Francisco, but you know I think he could. They're just this is San Francisco 2.0. They're just trying to rebuild, and follow the blueprint that San Francisco did, and I think they definitely have the ability to do that. Sure, are they going to compete this year? No. Next year, maybe. But the year after that, oh yeah, they definitely should be able to compete. But I think the worst move of them was giving up their first next year. If that's a top two or three pick, they're going to be,
mm,
really questioning themselves.
You mentioned that they're trying to be San Fran 2.0. Well, San
Mhm.
Fran did do that act before. Trey Lance, they sacrificed their
Yeah, they
23
sacrifice a
first round
lot
picks.
for him when they shouldn't have. I I just don't approve of them giving up, a possibly top three, top five pick with the way their schedule looking this year, with the level of talent on their team. You know, that was the worst move of the offseason for them. But everything else, I didn't see any complaints there.
So then you're saying that the Texans getting Will Anderson was a bad move then.
I'm not saying that was a bad move. I'm just saying they shouldn't have given up their one next year to do it. They
Well,
had the
then
But
offer.
they
well
probably
They
then
even
wouldn't have
like
been able
Arizona
to do it
probably would not
though.
have
That's the
agreed to
thing.
the deal.
Arizona. Arizona had the offer. 12 and 33, and a next year two instead of a next year one. Like if you
Uh,
watch the Arizona Cardinals video, they Monty Ossenfort offered a two, and but instead the trade became 12, 33, and a next year first for like 3 and 105 or something like that. That's I just didn't like that move. Giving up an extra one to get him, I don't like that. Giving up a two though, that's not a bad idea.
yeah, then it would be
Like
a really
you
big
want your
deal
one
for
next
sure.
year. You can turn your one into a two. You can't turn your two into a one. You know.
That is true, but at the same time, if the
Mhm.
Texans are good within 3 years, then that first round pick that was given up really won't matter.
Because they basically got two first round picks in the same year, and they got the best offense. Well, maybe not the best, but like top two quarterback in the draft,
Yeah.
CJ Stroud, the top defensive player in the
Yeah, like
class,
sure they
Anderson,
do.
in the
Sure,
same year.
remember, yeah, remember they do have still have a one last year. It's just not theirs, which means it's probably going to be around the 10 to 20 range. And
Mm.
I just didn't like that move from I just didn't like them. I think they should have given up Cleveland's pick instead of their own. So if they had their own, it might have
But
been a top three
even
pick.
then, that could be a gamble because like
Hmm.
Cleveland could, in the theory, be a playoff team. I don't think they will, but
I don't think they will. Yeah.
Find
Hmm.
that. Yeah, it might
So
be an
let's go.
outside
I think
looking in.
yeah. They're um they're a young team with a lot of holes in the roster, but I think over these next few years they can gradually close those holes. They have a good defensive core, they have a good offensive core, and a lot of teams you're going to need that to succeed in this league.
Right, yeah.
Are they going to?
Yeah,
Mhm.
I think so too.
So let's go with the record predictions and all. Let's start with Jacksonville. I think
Jacksonville, I'll
their
put
floor is
this.
9-8. Their ceiling is probably 13-4.
I don't know about
Ooh,
that. I'll give
13
him
and
11
4.
6.
No, that's yeah. I think
Yeah.
that's probably going to be their record, 11-6. I like
Uh,
11-6.
But yeah, I think their ceiling is definitely 500. I mean, not ceiling. Their floor is definitely 500. Well,
they can't really,
9 wins, nine
eight
wins, eight
losses.
losses, so slightly above
Hmm.
500. But
Yeah. Anybody for Tennessee? I think their floor is probably going to be around 5-10, 5-12, 6-11. Their ceiling is probably going to be 9-8,
9,
10-7.
8.
They're
I think so
nowhere near
too.
the 2019,
they're
2021 teams.
I'll give them an 8 and 9 as their floor. I
Uh,
really don't think Tennessee will amount to anything this year.
I think their record's probably 8-9 or 9-8 around that mark.
Yeah, very like average team.
Indianapolis, their floor I think is going to be 5-12. Their ceiling is probably going to be 9 and
Seven
8,
ten,
7
Yeah, I'm like a little bit
7.
lower in the Colts
I
too.
think that's what's going to be their
and
record, seven
I
and
think
ten this
Houston
year.
will be around the same area.
Houston,
Yeah,
I
Houston,
think
Indy.
yeah, Houston 5-10, 5-12, ceiling, think 9 and 8, maybe no, not 9 and 8, eight
Uh,
and nine, seven
maybe,
and
No,
I
no,
don't
ten.
no,
know.
no, no,
Maybe
no.
7 and 10.
They're still going to have double-digit losses for at least another season.
Yeah, I think 7-10 is probably going to be what they're going to, what they're going to have, what's going to happen with them. Which should set them up. That should set them up. Obviously they don't have their one, but they still do have Cleveland's one, so it's definitely worth a shot.
Yeah, yeah. I think
See what
it's
happens.
definitely worth a shot and
Yeah.
see if they can get
Hmm.
better. Still get a first
Hmm.
round anyway, from the Browns. But yeah, I mean I guess that's pretty much gonna do it for
Hmm. Yeah.
this episode recapping the
Hmm.
AFC
Well, these
South.
3 episodes.
These three
This is
episodes.
the Lord of the Rings trilogy right here.
Yeah, well,
Yeah.
definitely a busy
Hmm.
week for SportsVibe for sure.
Yeah.
Thanks for watching. If you've managed to
Hmm.
stick all the way through, I definitely appreciate the support. And we'll see you, I guess, next time when we
Hmm.
go over the AFC North and NFC South. So until
Yeah.
then, this has been SportsVibe, and enjoy
Hmm.
your week, enjoy your summer, and we'll see you with
Hmm.
another week of content.